Hey everyone. So today I'm going to give you the details, what you need to have a winning job search strategy. That it's critical that you have a winning job search strategy, especially in today's tough job market. It's really challenging. So this is what I'm seeing, and this is what I think will really help you. So I'm just going to jump right into it and share my screen so you can see. Okay. So these are the three ingredients you need to have that you must have in a successful search strategy. The first thing is to have brand clarity. You need to be clear on your brand. Why is your brand something that a company needs? All right. And you can measure your brand clarity very easily. When I do my strategy call with someone, I have them rate their brand clarity on a scale from 1 to 10. Your brand clarity needs to be at a 9 or 10. If it's not, you have work to do. Okay. And this is how I start off working with a client when we begin working together. So, but you need, again, your clarity has to be at a 9 or 10. And when it is at a 9 or 10, what does that look like? You're making the impact that you want to make in your work, in your career. You're having the success that you want to have. You really don't have to do a job search. It's really easy for you to land that next opportunity. That is ideal. And I know many of you have experienced that in the past. You were able to find a job without having to do a job search. And now some of you are finding that's no longer the case in this market. And part of that could be because your brand clarity is not as high as it should be. So that's that first component of a successful search strategy. The next component is, what is your clarity in that next ideal role for you? And that's the how. How do you want to use your one of a kind, unique brand? Any open job is a problem for a company. Okay. There's responsibilities that are assigned to that job that are not getting done, or somebody else is having to cover. It's a problem. It's a huge problem. And your brand needs to be the solution to that problem. Okay. So, but if you're not clear on how you want to use your brand, you could have super clarity. You could be at that 9 or 10 I was talking about with your brand clarity. But if you're not clear on how you want to use it, then that's a problem, because you're going to be scattered in your search. Um, you won't be clear on what you want to do. And if you're not clear, how is the company supposed to be clear on what's best for you? What is the best fit? So your clarity for this should be at a 9 or 10 as well. That's really important to keep in mind. Okay, and then also too, we have the third component is how the market perceives your brand. How does the market view your brand? And also too, how does the market perceive that next role that you're looking for? Okay. Because, and I think that's why a lot of people are having problems right now in the job market, is because the market is always changing. Change is the one constant that we can count on, especially in the job market. With so many things changing around us, um, the way your brand is viewed, and how you want to use it could be changing. Maybe there's not as much of a need, or maybe your industry, but really how the market perceives both of those things, you need to have an understanding of that. How much does the market need your brand? How much does the market need that role that you're going after? Okay. And looking at the industries, how much do they need those two things? Okay. So again, the three components of a successful search strategy are having high brand clarity. Because again, if you're not clear on how you're valuable to others, how are other people going to know that? Okay. How are they going to understand that? And then also too, um, your next ideal role. How are people going to, if you're not clear in that, they won't see that. And then finally, what is the market's perception of your brand and that next ideal role. Okay. So keep these successful search strategy components in mind. If you don't have these, if you're low in these, then what I recommend is, if we haven't done a strategy call, let's hop on the phone or on Zoom. Let's do a strategy call and we can dive into this deeper. I'll be asking you a lot of questions. So you've got to be open to them, asking you a ton of questions, and then talking about what are the solutions to getting some answers for you. Okay. So that's important too. Okay. So now the next part of this training that I'm doing is to show you the 3 actions that you need to take now. If you're not taking them, you need to start taking them now to successfully land my purposeful work program model that I have, that I use in my one-on-one coaching with my clients, and then also too in my group program that I am starting. So the very first step is the foundation of this triangle, and it's to reflect. So, and reflect is really key. If you find your clarity in, back here, remember in the prior screen, I was talking about having high brand clarity and having clarity in your next ideal role. So if you're finding that you're not at a 9 or a 10 with either one of those, then you want to take the time to reflect on what your brand is and how do you want to use it. You need to take the time out to do that, to reflect. It's important until your clarity gets to a 9 or 10. Why is this important? Well, again, you need to be clear, because that's how your search is going to be successful. And also too, when people go to your LinkedIn profile, when you're clear, they're going to see that. Okay. When they read your resume, it'll be clear. All right. That's when you do the work of that reflection step, then you have the clarity, and it's coming across in your LinkedIn profile, and it's also coming across in your resume. And it's also coming across in the interviews that you're having, in the conversations that you're having with people. But if you don't do that essential step of reflection, if you try to skip that, you're going to be wasting your time when you have those conversations with people, in updating your LinkedIn profile, in your resume. The reflection piece is the foundation, because it gives you the clarity that you need. And then once you have that clarity, it comes through in your LinkedIn profile, in your resume, in your cover letter, in your interviews. That's why you need that foundation. Okay. So you have to, none of these steps can be skipped, but reflection is the first piece. It's the foundation. The second thing that you need to do is you need a plan. You definitely need a plan on how are you going to connect your brand with that next ideal role. And also too, going out in the market, getting more information on how does the market view your brand and that next ideal role. Okay. So, definitely putting together those important pieces, the building blocks of your search that I had mentioned, your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your cover letter. But also too, knowing what are the companies that you want to pursue, the companies that you want to go after in your search, and really looking at, identifying those companies. That's part of your plan, having a target company list. So you're being really specific and focused. And then also assessing your connections. How can your connections help you? What new connections do you have to make? This is all part of the plan. What is your plan in, connecting your brand with that next ideal role, while you're also assessing the marketplace? And I should also say too, in that reflection step, the foundation, we are very focused on your brand and that next ideal role, and having high clarity in both of those areas. And we are starting to look at, it's important, we have to look at how does the market view those. So we're looking at that in the reflection foundation too. And then also we're continuing to look at it in our plan and developing our plan. Okay, it's important. Okay, so now we have the next step is to connect. We need to connect with others. That is important to really connect your brand with that next role. So developing the plan was putting together, okay, what are the steps? What's the how that we need to do in order, to connect with that next role? But then the last piece is to actually be connecting with people. We're trying to connect your brand with that next role. So it's connection activity, it's having conversations, it's having interviews, it's also getting information on what job opportunities are out there in the market. And, really, again, trying to connect your brand with that next ideal role. Okay. So this is a lot of connection work, obviously, but it's also a lot more than that too. It's not just having phone conversations. It's all working toward getting those interviews because we want to get you those conversations for those opportunities. That's key. So again, these are the three things that you need to do now. You need to reflect. You need to plan on how you're going to connect your brand with that next role. And then you actually have to go out and do the connection work. A plan without taking action is useless. So this is basically how we're implementing our plan. Okay. The reflection piece is like calling out, identifying, what your brand is and how you want to use it in that next ideal role. And then looking at how the market perceives those two. So this is calling it out. Planning is calling out how we're going to do that. How is it going to all come together? And then think of connect as actually taking the action to get there. Okay. All right, great. Now I'm going to stop my share so I can speak to what I'm seeing in today's market, because that was like the final piece of my training, is to like really kind of give you some intel on what is going on and what you can do about it. Okay, that's really important. So it's harder. It's taking longer for people to connect with the decision makers. Okay, and that's what you need to be focused on every time. You need to focus on reaching the hiring manager, the decision makers. Who are the people that would be hiring you for that next ideal role that you've identified? And here again, this is another thing that you're doing in your job search, that if you're not clear on what that next ideal role for you is, if you're not at a 9 or a 10, then how are you supposed to be able to do the connection work that is required to connect with those hiring managers? Okay, so you're identifying those next ideal roles, and then you have to look at them and say, who would be the decision makers? Who's hiring into these roles? Okay. And you need to be focused on those people every time. That's critical. Okay. Now, but it is taking longer. We're definitely seeing that in the marketplace. It's taking longer to connect with those people. So what do you do in order to connect with them quicker, to expedite it, to do whatever you can? Well, look at your network, assess your network. Who do you have enough of those decision makers? Okay. And is your network helping you? Are your connections helping you to connect with those people? If they're not, then you need to look at your network and say, okay, how do I need to make my network better? How do I need to make my connections better? And a way that you can evaluate your connections is by looking at those people that are outside of your function. Because if you're a marketing leader, are your connections too heavy in marketing? Do you have good diversity in your connections? Do you have CEOs? Do you have founders? Do you have CFOs? Do you have CIOs, CHROs? Okay. Um, Especially the C-suite, and then starting at that level, and then maybe depending on the organizations that you're targeting, maybe if you go, you start at the top and you work your way down. But you have to really critically look at your network and see, where are the holes? Where do I need to do some patching? Think of it as a wall that you're kind of you're climbing to get to that next role. Okay. But if there's holes in the wall, you're not going to be able to climb it very well, are you? So, well, maybe you can, but it depends. You need the right holes strategically. So, but you really want to, you know, you leverage your connections so you can get to that next role. And diversity in the functions in your network is important. Okay. So look at that. And then also look at what you're doing in reaching out to people. Look at your messaging. Are you really leading with what's in it for them? Because that's how you're going to grab people. What is most important to them? Don't be leading with, well, I'm a CMO with 20 some years of experience. Everybody does that. That is boring and it's not relevant to me. What can you do for me? That's what you need to lead with. Okay. Um, even observations that you might have about what I have going on, what our organization has going on from a marketing standpoint, but what's of interest to them? What's in it for them? So always keep that in mind. Lead with that. Okay. And you need to differentiate yourself. Don't forget to show how you stand out from everyone else. That is critical as well. You don't want to blend in with the crowd. I think often we don't want to stick out because you might be an introvert. Maybe you're not comfortable with that. But in doing a job search, you don't want to blend in with everyone else. That is not going to help you at all to connect with that decision maker and to get hired. So you really need to do that. That's critical as well. Okay, so hopefully this is good information to help you with what's going on in today's job market. Another thing that I would recommend is there was a book that I read at least a couple years ago, Blue Ocean Strategy. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact title, but what my key takeaway was is that we need to go where everyone else is not. So think of the job market right now. When you are applying to ads, you're seeing hundreds or thousands of people that have applied to the same posting. Think of that as a part of the ocean where all the sharks are feeding and there's a frenzy to find the food. Okay. Instead, have a blue ocean strategy. Try to go, to where not everyone else is. LinkedIn is so popular because, hey, it's great. I love the way they have it structured to find jobs and everything. However, maybe you need to check out some other job boards that are different and are unique to your industry. Okay. And I want to encourage you again to, if we haven't done a career strategy call, I do a certain number of those, not a ton, but I do them, a few of them on a complimentary basis. And, if you're a new connection and we haven't done that, let's take advantage of that because I can really talk with you about your strategy. I'll be asking you a ton of questions, but really trying to get at the heart of what's wrong, what's not working with your strategy, and we can go from there. So hopefully you found this helpful. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, let's definitely connect because when you connect with me, then you can view my connections and you can use that to help you. And then again, do the strategy call because I'm really very focused on making sure that it's high value. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching my training. Bye now.